The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on August 9th, the IPCC issued its climate report, and the UN said of it that it was a code red for humanity. And the thrust of the report is pretty simple, that we're already at 1.2 degrees, and that holding global heating below 1.5 is going to require a renewed commitment and a renewed effort. And yet the government, which was elected here just 8 days after the release of the report, ran on a platform that did not include a greenhouse gas emission reduction target, and the mandate letter from the Premier to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change doesn't include any mention of that subject either. So will the Premier tell this House if his government intends to set an emissions reduction target?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for the question. Of course, we ran a campaign that most Nova Scotians know was very focused on health care, but no question. I think Nova Scotians know that there's many more issues facing the province than just health care, including housing, including the environment, including education. And what I would say to the honourable member is, although I didn't read that report when it came on August 9th, I was a little preoccupied at that particular time. That should not give any indication that this government is anything less than committed to making sure that we live in a place that we're doing everything we can to preserve our planet for future generations. We are committed to that, and we will. It would be unfair to say that we didn't speak to targets at all in our platform, but I want to, despite that misunderstanding, I want to be very clear with the member that we are very focused on doing the best we can as a province to preserve our planet for future generations.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party on his first supplementary.
Thank you. I'm not speaking about targets in general. I'm speaking about, in particular, GHG reduction targets. Now, this is going to be, this week, the focus of a great deal of international attention as COP26, the Glasgow conference, convenes beginning Sunday. The attention of the world is going to be on this subject, the adequacy of greenhouse gas emissions reductions targets nation by nation by nation, subnationality by subnationality. And so I want to ask the Premier, is he committed to establish a greenhouse gas emissions regime in Nova Scotia that will align us with the world's goal of 1.5 degrees?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for the question. What I would say to the member is what the member and members of this House and all Nova Scotians can expect from this government is the same as it's always received from PC governments. We set the targets. This is the government that established the export legislation that set targets across the spectrum. That led this province through successive governments, including a short spell with an NDP government, including a time with Liberal governments, that set the roadmap to move this province to where it is now. And we're very proud of the expo legislation, and it's not just us. Even former Premier McNeil referred to it as having led the province on the path. So what I would say to the member is yes, the member can expect to see targets from our government, just like it always has in the past.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party on his final supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But the question is not simply targets, but targets that are consistent with 1.5 degrees. And we have in front of us in Nova Scotia what is required in order to do that. 3 years ago, a broad coalition of organizations and citizens came together to produce the 2030 declaration. And the direct declaration comes down to the formula that what we need is a 50% reduction of GHGs below 1990 levels by 2030. So it is a question of specifics when we're talking at this important moment. So on the eve of COP26, will the Premier commit to lead us on a path in Nova Scotia that will get us to a place 50% below 1990 levels by 2030?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And what I'll commit to the member today is that, yes, this government will lead this province on the path. And the only certainty that I can give this House today is that whatever target we pick, there'll be debate over it. And whatever target we pick will probably be wrong in the eyes of the opposition. We've seen that with fixed election dates. But what I will say too, because we know how opposition works, and you got to find something. You got to find something to talk about. So what I'll promise the member, my commitment to the member today.
Order, please. The Premier has the floor. The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the commitment that I will make today to the honourable member is we will establish a target, and we will do it knowing full well that the opposition will complain about it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.